right. So, I thought my title was View Sonic, but apparently it's not. So, it's me again. I went home and changed so that I would look like a different speaker, but I'm thinking Netflix special following this. But the good news is I won't be at the breakfast tomorrow, so you guys can just eat. This presentation is typically Dr. Bailey and I, we give this together. He talks about the 9 years of building the university, the purpose and everything, but he's in San Antonio at the UTRGV alumni event tonight, so he couldn't be here, but it's such a privilege and, you know, an honor to be part of this group. I don't know, this just comes and goes. I might just talk, maybe. Okay, now it's back. Okay. Well, let me start with the word community focused is something that is very important for UTRGV. And I'll talk about this because of the R1 emphasis, the tools, everything you've seen. Well, behind it all, it's really community engagement for us. Now, if you remember, Dr. Spencer before noon, he gave a presentation that's the detailed level research operations. And then I talked about institutional, basically, support and how we strategically connect things. Now, this kind of goes a little bit above that and talks about the why. So this is the story behind the 9-year-old University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, 2 legacy institutions, plus School of Medicine. It is a big project because, you know, bringing 2 different groups of faculty, students, and trying to put it under one student system, and then to build the financial system, and then what do you do with all the staff, and it was just, I've heard a lot of lessons learned from that. So it's a Carnegie R2 university, but as you've seen on the video, again, like I said, these are all R1 type activities that you would see. So here's, let me just go over here, maybe this is a better angle here. So from, well, actually, there was a SpaceX launch late this afternoon, and President-elect Trump was there, I think. So happened right there. So if you go from here to Laredo all the way 200 plus miles, we are the University of the Rio Grande Valley. Looking at student numbers, 34,000, and the most important piece is, you know, 94% from the region. A lot of our students, they really want to stay here. The culture is different. Our biggest export from the region is great students that graduate from UTRGV. There was one, and I can't remember, I think it was Department of Education program director visit came, and we have some students sitting around the table, and she started asking, so when are you graduating? What are you going to do? Well, I'm finishing in 2 months. I'm going to Chicago. And at the end of the conversation, she turned to all the students and said, so nobody's staying here? Well, we don't have the type of jobs that they would like to take. And so region has very different, very visible needs. 64% Pell Grant recipients, just speaks for itself. And then 67% of our undergrads are first gen. So our needs are very different. So when you talk about R1 and all those things, all those strategic goals really need to work off of this demographics here. Now, let me, so there are 4 counties, Star, Willacy, Hidalgo, and Cameron. So the top shows the population growth. So Willacy is in the negative. It's hard to see. I wish we could, well, I'll just talk for the ones in the back. The numbers are very, less than 1. Here, the Texas is a little bit over 109%. You look at the educational level. So looking at the 4 counties versus Texas and the United States, it is statistically conclusive, very visible. It's a very different population here. Comes down to unemployment rate. It's higher than the national average. And then looking at the jobs, looking at the companies with number of employees. So there is an economical situation here is not that bright, right? So, and then the last one is the household below poverty level. So these numbers are very high compared to the rest of the country. So what does it mean? We have health problems, health disparity problems. We have economic development problems, the workforce development problems. Right across the border, there's a manufacturing presence, very strong. Some people live here, work in Mexico. Some students live in Mexico, they come to classes. So this is a very different region. Unlike what you see on TV, the first time I got the job, some of my friends were like, man, so all the cartel and everything over there. It's like, I said, yeah, I need to get more guns, Well, no, I just got multiple pairs of cowboy boots, that was it, and a pickup truck. So it's very different, right? So presence of the university from the beginning was designed with that in mind. How do we respond to the health needs of the region? School of Medicine. School of Podiatry, number 1 in Texas, number 11 in the nation. Optometry is coming, School of Nursing, College of Health Professions. All of these were designed with the end in mind. And Dr. Bailey has been a president for a long time. So I speak with him about all these strategic decisions, and he always says, we should have done it this way. He has a lot of these lessons learned, but he says, we had to take care of students first, student success first, right? So looking at this, the requirements you're in defines the character of the university that you have to build. You can't just say, oh yeah, we're going to come here, we're going to do just R1 and all that, and just, everybody's going to say, well, we don't care. You drive from Brownsville to Laredo, you're going to see a lot of UTRGV signs all the way. 4 counties, how many cities do you know? Just make a guess. Who said that, 5,000? I will feed that green salsa, a big spoon, green 47 cities, 47 mayors, and so anytime UTRGV puts a building somewhere, across the street, there's another mayor. So it's like, well, Dr. Bailey, what do we get? Right? It's nonstop. I've never seen anything like that. So it's very different. Now, let's go back. Theoretical, higher education. I mean, you can say teaching, research, service, and then clinical piece. If you have a medical school, that's fine. So what we do in general are those 3 functions, right? Faculty workload defined by these. But it's really, when we say teaching, it's about learning. It's more about innovation that happens. And then part of service is really getting to the public, getting to the community. So for us, when you think about this from a very generic perspective, so if you're going to define your institution, what is the institutional focus, right? Then you define your R1s and R2s and everything using that terminology. Because R1, R2 is really fake, right? It's just a weak sticky note on your shirt. It's going to fall off before you get to the parking lot, right? the attitude, the behavior, what you do has to speak for itself. So what we target, why we do in higher education, if we talk about, it's really lifelong learning skills. There were statistics about the half-life of an engineer is, I don't know, some 5 years, 6 years, you have to reinvent yourself nonstop. Research is really about knowledge transfer. Something has to happen. When you're in the lab, you're doing something that has to have some impact somewhere. When you're inventing that little box that tells the railway, the wheels and everything turning, that there's something wrong happening, that's great, you're saving lives. And then service, societal impact. So again, define your institutional mission by doing this. Now, for us, that middle core is really, it's the community. So the community requirements in the community defines what UTRGV has to do. And this was from day one, the mission on Dr. Bailey's desk from the Board of Regents. And in order to make it happen, you really need 3 pillars. The institutional leadership is important, but you can't just say, come on guys, let's do this. Well, there has to be reality, financial sustainability, and then you need to strategically invest that, right? And then you need to have transparency with the community, what you do, why you do, how you do, talk about those things. So that becomes the core. And then you can build your teaching, research, service all around it. So this core for us is very unique. Every time I talk about some research activity with Dr. Bailey, some awards, I need to convince him to do certain things, and all he says is, okay, so how will this impact the neighborhood? What happens, right? So looking at this, it's really in the lifelong learning skills. For us, social mobility, economic mobility is very important. So we don't mind staying R2 if we can bring more student success to the table, to the region. And then the student-centered support systems. When you have 60+% Pell Grant and first gen, it's very different than UT Austin. They don't know how to study. I mean, they get stressed out, the well-being of students, it's very different. And then you have to design the programs. We have a lot of professional programs on purpose that are, like I said, podiatry, nursing, and the School of Medicine, all of those things. Plus, we have research doctoral programs for different reasons. So the whole portfolio has been designed with this in mind. Then you look at the societal impact, public service outreach. We have agreements, partnerships with independent school districts. We have agreements with economic development corporations. We have a lot of, like I said, collegiate high school, which is a pipeline issue. The industry university collaborative R&D, incubators, economic development, workforce training, all of those things are intentionally designed. And then on the knowledge transfer side, it has to be community-driven research. There are a lot of examples of it, why we do what we do and how we do. And applied R&D is very important for us. Whenever you're doing research, we need to know where it's going to go. And if I can accelerate that as the VPR, it's going to be a very great, exciting day for me to be able to help you with that. Collaborative research models with community stakeholders, and then bringing different industry sectors. We have Port of Brownsville. They're expanding the port. The whole supply chain is going to is running through that. So if you think about actually building a manufacturing hub around the port, you cut down a lot of non-value added logistical issues and you create value. So I'm an engineer, so I think about if I can use one technology so that I can create a seed, and the example I have for that is additive manufacturing. We have faculty members who are working on it, so we have several facilities coming up with different levels of additive manufacturing, with Oak Ridge National Labs also partnering with us. So you can build windmill blades with additive manufacturing. Right now, the way they build it, fiberglass glass boats, layer by layer. When those windmills wear out, it's landmine. Oak Ridge has a technology. It's like a big shredder, twice the size of this room. It actually shreds the windmill. It becomes a raw material, back to raw material. It's a recycling. We have a company in Mexico who is making windmills, blades, because they cannot operate in the US because of OSHA. So a lot of political issues, but if we can create one technology core in the region and build everything around it, then the students are going to stay here. They want to stay with their families. That's a different culture, right? So now, this is the part where Dr. Bailey brags about, and he uses the term, think about that. He does that a lot, right? I don't know if you remember. So go back 10 years. So Washington Monthly, based on actual data, they rank schools. It's not US News type popularity asking people about what you know about the university. This is actual student data. So if you look at the top 60 national, well, of course, we're number 60, so we call it top 60, right? I mean, like, if you're number 1, you wouldn't say, I'm in top 5, right? I mean, you're basically number 5, if they make it. But 60. Looking at this, number 1 in social mobility, number 1 in performance of Pell Grant students. This is very important for us. And second nationally, I can't remember who's the number 1. And then the lowest net price of attendance. Dr. Bailey has come up with a way to support students financially, and I'll tell you about it. Again, these are the things that we are very proud of. And we like this. 2020, number 3 in Texas and 86 overall. And then went down to 5. Come back up to 3. This is kind of the COVID. And then 23, we're number 1 in Texas. Again, this is based on student success, social mobility. My daughter, before she graduated, goes to UT Austin, and we put a bunch of these signs all over the place, and I was bragging to her. I said, see, number 1 university in Texas. And then she's like, well, based on what? So there was a little bit of that. Economic value, how much they pay, and then how many years it takes to get it back. There's an amazing study, and we're on top of it. Economic mobility, number 6 among all universities national, and then number 1 in Texas. There's a lot we're proud of, and we're not going to sacrifice student success at the expense of R1. So the question about R1, student success, teaching, everything, it's the whole basket. We have to manage it all. So, Chronicle of Higher Education. This was interesting. This is the fastest growing public doctoral institutions. Like I said, we have just started with several of our doctoral programs. So this is Dr. Bailey and his team. I wasn't here. They've developed a model where they create a lot of scholarships and they pay for the student tuition and fee to minimize student debt. So this is interesting. So guarantees tuition and mandatory fee rate for 4 years for all undergraduates. So if you look at this one, free tuition and mandatory fees for Texas residents in good academic standing whose family income is 125 or less. We have many students like this, many. Several of them are in your lab. Those students who are in this situation are given access to an R1 facility. So I really don't care Carnegie calls us R1 or not. I'm already R1 with him, right? So some of the things, well, this is what I told you. Not that there's going to be a quiz after that, but everybody, but all that I told you, and then I said, we did this, and we did this, and that, all that stuff. So now, the question about what does R1 mean? To me, this is the important thing. This is what I keep communicating with the campus. First of all, high volume of research activity. It's not just expenditures, it's scholarly activities. It's that intellectual piece. Pursuit of excellence in research scholarly activities, and I'm going to go through this, my top 10 list. And then the last one, people stop talking about expenditures. They talk about what they really do. So my way of looking at it is research excellence, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary approach, and the environment fosters innovation. I was talking right before we were grabbing our plates. Apparently we have a very antiquated travel system, which I need to take a look at it. Our administrative staff spending amazing time re-entering data it doesn't foster innovation other than it just aggravates people, right? There are a lot of business processes that we need to fix. So the way I communicate this with the campus is like this. I said, well, don't tell me when are we going to get there. Technically, we're never going to get there. I mean, if you look at our expenditures based on the watered down ACE metrics, 87 million versus 50 million, we way past 50 million total research, that's fine. 70 research doctoral degrees, last year we did 68. So technically, we have to do 142, 2 more iPad cycle, we are R1. But actually, this is the whole thing we have to do. And here, it's important to have institutional support resources, workload policies, the mentorship, all of these need to come together to be able to provide that R1 experience to our students who deserve all this in order to build their life and get there, otherwise they could not have the chance to do it. I gave a talk with the ACE folks, and I've been very vocal about it. I criticized them. I said, why did you make it 50 million total research? Just make it 50 million restricted research, at least. 50 million is too low. But anyway, so one thing that's going to come in January is social and economic mobility. The original Carnegie has R1, R2 categories. They're going to come up with also, they've come up with, but they haven't shared the details, the social mobility index, economic mobility, I don't know what they're going to call it, SMI, EMI, or something like that. So it's going to look at access and outcomes, right? The higher education culture is interesting. There are universities out there, they brag about their rejection rates. They say, you know what, we reject 90% of our applicants. Well, we choose to think the other way. You come to UTRGV, we'll provide you the funding, we're going to support you, you're going to have access, but then we're going to push you all the way up. So when this happens, I'm pretty sure UTRGV is going to be up there. So they're going to have most probably, so this is not final, so we're going to be somewhere up here. This is like fictitious data, but it's going to look at access, outcome, and you wouldn't want to be low access, low outcome, and just, they're really bad neighborhoods. This is the place where I'm sure we're going to be. I was in Orlando last week, and there was a degree completion award, and we got the award. And again, this is all about retention and success and student support. UNLV and University of Kentucky were the other runner-ups, and they're amazing schools. So I think they're all winners with the mission that they have in order to change and make sure the higher education has a very visible impact that happens. So I talked about this, this is fine, I'm not going to repeat this. We define different research pathways, so this gives my direct reports a way to bring faculty under different themes where they don't think about department, college, or anything. So we try to bring under certain topics that doesn't belong to anybody, but it's real life, So you guys get together. So we do lunch and learn, and we do a lot of these activities there. And then we have, I think 19, right? Right now, 50, yeah. 19 organized research units. These receive part of the IDC, indirect cost revenue. There are 2 of them. They report to me, the marine ecosystems. So that postdoc, where's our postdoc? Marine, there was a postdoc in a marine, okay. This is the one. I'm thinking about you for this one, right there.
Still recruiting you hard.
I know. Space sciences is another one. So we use research centers and institutes to facilitate that culture change. So this is my last slide. So if you're going to build a university of this sort, or if you're going to redefine your own institution, just start with your focus. What do you want to do? Bring in institutional leadership, financial stability, and then add your lifelong learning skills, a little bit more details. K through 12 partnership is important. I mean, it's difficult to keep up with all of these. It's almost like those plates that, you go to, well, I don't know if you've ever seen those spinning plates, right, on steel rods, and somebody adds a new plate, and you feel like, gosh, I need to keep running. So it just keeps going. And then knowledge transfer is important, societal impact. So you can mix and match these at some level. Try to figure out which one comes first. And it's important to create the necessary end result, but then sequence them in the right way. If you were to throw this in front of a faculty group, which I'm a part of it, so I can speak, they're going to write 250 pages how it should be done and why it should be done. And then if you ask them, what about the budget and the capacity and the capability to do it, nobody can talk. It's interesting. Time and money sometimes has a very vague sense in academic settings. People don't realize. But this is really a strategic approach. How to build, what to build. Most importantly, you need to communicate this to all stakeholders with the language that they understand, with the terminology that they understand. So, like I said, I won't be at the breakfast, and this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, if there are any questions, but I don't want to keep you guys hostage here. So.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, otherwise, party time, right?
Party. There's a question right there.
How do you manage the money for paying for the students' tuition?
Yeah, so we get state of Texas has a certain budget structure where we get certain revenues, and then we have great donors under endowment, and part of indirect cost recovery goes in there. We have a lot of federal grants that come and support, and then you have the PAL. So there's a certain model which I don't know all the financial terms to explain it, but under the hood there's a certain shuffling of funds with the students in mind, student first in mind.
And one of the models they have implemented a few years ago is the tuition is capped at 12 hours.
Yes.
And so if you take 15 hours, you still pay 12 hours. So that has helped the students finish earlier, right? Because if you want to take advantage of that, right, especially the ones who pay tuition, right? If you pay for 12, but then you can take 15 or 16 or 17. So it helps the students who don't meet this. But also there was a generous donation thanks to Bezos' wife, who gave us 60 million.
Yeah.
And then
Mackenzie. Correct.
Yes.
Mackenzie.
She's her own person.
Okay, he's an old man, I'm sorry.
Ex-wife.
Ex-wife. Okay. So I got attacked, man.
You want to go wash off your face?
I know. I am sorry, but we got money thanks to Amazon.
Yeah, McKinsey Foundation, yes.
McKinsey gave us 60 million, and what the universities did with that She took the university, instead of spending it on, they actually put it towards the students.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that pays. So it used to be that anybody 100,000, like if your income is 100,000,
The family.
you don't pay any. Now with that generous donation, we were able to go to 125,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to add to that, the luminary scholarship.
Oh, yeah, please.
So also what was great with that endowment from Mackenzie was a Luminary Scholars Program that brings in, I think, of like 20 to 30.
20.
20 every year. I get to listen to these high school students interviews. And it pays for their tuition, it's everything from freshman all the way through graduate school or medical school.
Yes.
And no debt.
No.
It's complete scholarship. and
Yeah.
It's one of a kind. And the idea, Dr. Bailey, is keeping the breadth and the
Yes.
focus here in the back.
Yes.
And we have one of those students. So this student, as long as she finished anywhere in the state of Texas, by the way, it's not just in our school, but they'll pay for her tuition and dorms as an undergrad, then all the master's tuition and PhD. What I do, I pay stipend. So I end up giving, so when a student like that, they get a stipend, a monthly stipend, plus all their tuition, plus the dorms, and so that motivates them to, hey, if you can finish your PhD, not owing us a cent.
Yeah. Any other questions?
It's coordination and a result.
Yes, yes. Well,
Question?
yes.
How do you ensure lifelong learning in your students? How do you manage that?
Well, you know, experiential learning is what drives a lot of the curriculum that we try to do in a way. It's not just one way from the textbook, memorize. It's understanding the reason, the root cause, the what happens and why it happens and how it happens. And again, I can't speak for all the courses we teach, for everything, but the whole idea is that if I cannot get students to become more curious intellectually, don't ask, if they're not asking questions when they get a job out there, then we haven't done our job, right? You have to be curious. They need to ask why, how you can improve it, and you know, be aware of your environment, situation, all the factors. So that's what we try to
You have to
cultivate.
start early. Like a lot of times people say, well, how do you do with undergrads? You have to understand, when you get somebody who's a freshman or a sophomore, you're not gonna get what you want from them, right? But you have to be patient. If you don't start early, they're not gonna be, they're less likely to go to masters. And so how do you get them to be lifelong learners? You get them early, you invest the time, you have them surrounded by master students and hopefully doctoral students, and hope that by the time they become seniors, they're ready to hit the ground running and not look back. But sometimes it takes that patience to understand that you're not gonna hire somebody who's a freshman and sophomore and suddenly they're gonna be writing a paper for you, or you have to have that patience.
Can I add to that? I'm a K-12 educator, and I can vouch for the university. They do a lot of work with the community and with the K-12 community. They send their students out to us. They send professors out to us. So that outreach and starting them young, they're going beyond just, the university bachelor level, undergraduate. They're reaching out to our K-12, and that is making the world of a difference to help us create those lifelong learners.
So we had, just past weekend, we had a robotics competition. James Lee was doing, one of our faculty members. I got all the pictures of it. So it's basically a Lego robotics part of problem-solving activity in the competition mode. As long as they get to that level of thinking, how can I solve a problem, and plus enjoy it, that's it. It just takes off from there. Yes?
Yeah, quick question. Can you talk a little more about the curation part?
Yes, yes. So we have a Senior Vice President for Government Relations and Outreach counterpart, just like me as a VP. Across the valley, we have workforce development programs and actually physical locations where we have. In those physical locations, we have small-sized or medium-sized companies or startups. They can come, actually, they can use our business services in order to get a variety of training courses and things to start off a business. What we're working on right now is a manufacturing-based new incubation center. It used to be the Community Engagement Student Success, CESS Center, which is a very large facility. We're converting that into a one-stop shop, business process development, incubation, rapid prototyping type of a area where we're going to work with not only our researchers and faculty, but also the community colleges in the region in order to basically cultivate workforce development. And we have several EDA grants, several SBIR, STR kind of grants that we're using. We're not at the right level where I wish we could be. Sometimes the 47 cities and economic development corporations, they have a very short-sighted view. Anything retail, a coffee shop, a Starbucks, it brings more revenue, and then you talk to them about a 10-year cycle, economic development, they're like, well, elections and things, they can't think 10 years. It's just terrible. It's just, I mean, they're okay with apartment buildings and coffee shops, and then when you say, well, let's do a training facility that'll bring manufacturing from Mexico, or we're going to complement, it just fails for some reason. So we need a regional, actually, program, a policy that brings all of these folks together. Several companies decided not to come because we have energy issues. The power grid is weak, water is an issue, transportation is an issue. And companies who want to come, they need water for their data centers or some manufacturing facilities, and they want continuous power. Water, power, you don't have it, they're not coming. Yeah, it's just, well, they're going to start serving breakfast if we keep staying here. And we may just, thank you all very much. Thank you. Huh? I need to go change now.
Change for breakfast.
I know. Awesome. Well,